In this video, I will guide you to creating your very first agent in the Azure A Foundry Agent Service, and we will demonstrate it using the portal and using code. But before that, let me just give you an overview on what this service is about. The Azure A Foundry Agent Service is a platform as a service. It's a PaaS offering from Microsoft that enables developers to build, deploy, and manage AI agents without managing underlying infrastructure. It provides a developer-focused platform for creating, running, and orchestrating intelligent agents using a REST API or SDKs in .NET, Python, and JavaScript. And this service is designed to support long-running agents that maintain memory, context, and goals across multiple interactions or over extended periods of time. And I will discuss later what this long-running agent means for you. So we first need to understand that creating your first agent is a two-step process. So one, you first set up your agent environment. And two, you need to create and configure your agent using either the SDK of your choice or the Azure Foundry portal. And we also need to understand that you need an Azure A Foundry resource and a Foundry project to create an agent. And agents are created within a specific project. And each project acts as an isolated workspace. So this means that all agents in the same project share access to the same file storage, thread storage, and search indexes, and that data is isolated between projects. So agents in one project cannot access resources from another. In addition, we need to understand that the service offers three environment configurations to create your agents. The basic setup allows you to get started quickly. Conversation history, file, and vector stores are stored by the platform for you. In this case, Microsoft manages everything for you. The standard setup is different because it includes everything in the basic setup, but with more control over your data. So conversation history, files, and vector stores are stored in your own Azure resources, giving you full control. And then you have the third one, standard setup with bring your own virtual network, which includes everything in the standard setup with the added ability to operate entirely within your own virtual network, allowing for strict controls over data movement. You can see in this diagram the list of resources created for each configuration. The basic setup creates an Azure A Foundry resource and a project, while the standard setup creates the same set of resources, but with the addition of the Azure A Search, Cosmos DB, and Azure Storage. So we'll discuss, after we create one, we'll actually see what will happen. So in general, once you have the standard agent setup, you'll be able to see, for example, your user interactions. So every time you make a user input and a system provides a response, you'll be able to see it immediately in your Cosmos database. Every time you upload a file for the agent to refer to that file for any responses, you will see the raw file in Azure Storage and you'll see the index in Azure A Search. So that's what the standard agent setup provides you, the flexibility to be able to see all of that. As you notice with the basic agent setup, you don't have any of that. So any files that you upload, any user interactions and system responses that are provided by the system, you will not be able to see them. You'll not be able. It's stored somewhere. It's Microsoft manages the storage, but you'll not be able to see it in raw form. So there's actually many ways to as you can see here, there are many ways to do it, and the simplest way is to deploy a basic agent setup. So we click deploy to Azure button, and we log into our account. And we create a new resource group. we enter a service name, and we can actually uh, accept the defaults that are provided. We specify a region. So in this case, let's specify West US. So I'll demonstrate here creating your uh, basic setup. And in the next videos, I will demonstrate the standard setup. So we click here, review plus create to validate first. And once the validation is done, we click create. Now this deployment will take roughly a few minutes, so I will pause this video and I will get back to you once this deployment has been completed. So once the deployment is done, we can now visit the resource group. And we can see that there's an Azure A Foundry resource and an Azure A Foundry project created. We click on the project. And we can visit the Foundry portal. You can see here your project endpoint, which we actually need later on once we create an agent through the code. And you can go to the models plus endpoint to see what kind of model was deployed for you. So in this case, by default, there's a GPT-4 Omni model deployed, in which when you click on it, you'll be able to see the URI, the API key of this model, and more importantly, the rate limit, which is set. We can actually modify this if you have an agent that you normally when you have agents, you need higher tokens per minute, so you can specify here. In my case, my subscription can allow up to 30 million, but in this case, for the purpose of this demo, let's specify it up to, let's say, 250,000. Normally, we'll do capacity planning here based on the amount of usage you expect to incur on your agent. So click on submit changes. So that's how you actually specify the rate limit. And there's even a content filter here, in which we'll discuss in the next few videos how I can modify this. So by default, every model that you deploy that is deployed for you has a default content filter, in which it's actually medium for all user inputs and model outputs. And then you have jailbreaking, protected material text, and protected material code set up already by default. So click submit changes. So now that we have our environment set up, let's create our very first agent using the portal. So we head over to the website. So this ai.azure.com. We click on the agents page. And we simply click new agent. We assign it a name. So in this case, sample agent. And more importantly, we specify instructions for the agent using prompt engineering. In this case, we'll keep it simple for now. We'll put here ERNA assistant. And then you can even provide it an agent description. And this is actually optional. So this will actually help you, help the users or help developers determine what the description of the agent is. And then from there, yeah, that's about it. This is your very first agent. And you can test it out in the playground. And you can ask the question. So let's say here we'll ask, what is the capital of Japan? And you can see that the agent is able to respond back. It's not actually getting information from the internet, but it's getting information from its internal data set. And given that this is a large language model, as an agent, armed with a large language model, a GPT-4 Omni model to be exact, it knows the answer. Now, this instructions is very important. So let me demonstrate this. So here we can specify here that you're an AI travel assistant that will only answer questions about France. If you are asked questions about other countries, you will decline to answer. Okay. And we save the changes. Now we can ask the same question again. What is the capital of Japan? And even if the agent knows the answer, since we instructed it not to provide any answers other than questions from France, then you can see here that the agent is only here to assist with questions about France only. Let me know if you'd like to help with anything related to France. And okay, what is the capital of France? Now to provide an answer, give me restaurant recommendations there. And since the there is about Paris, then it will provide you now restaurants in Paris. And then let's say here, how about restaurants in, let's say, New York? And again, it will not respond back because he gave it specific instructions to only. So let's ask, some areas in France that are not popular. So let's say, how about in Nice? Okay. In which case, it's actually located in France, and it also knows it as well. So that's your, very first agent. And what are the other options that you can see here? So if you go to the agents, you can see that when I say long-running agent, it's here forever in the system. If I don't delete it, so let's say this agent 562, if I delete it, it's gone. But for sample agent, if I don't delete it, it's there forever. And you can see here, if I click on this My Threads, you'll be able to see all the threads for this agent. So in this case, for sample agent. And what is this thread? So let's go back to the presentation. Before we demonstrate, so we created our very first agent in the portal. Let's create an agent in code so that you understand what the different concepts are. But before that, let's discuss what are the steps and components of the Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. So whenever you use an agent, there are a series of steps and components that are involved. So you first create an agent, so that's step one. So you create an agent to start sending messages and receiving responses, and each agent has 3 core components. So instructions define the agent's goals, behavior, and constraints. So I demonstrated that to you. And the model powers reasoning and language understanding. So you can actually view in Microsoft Learn all the list of Azure OpenAI and non-Microsoft models available for your agent. So when you created the agent in the portal, you saw me create a set of instructions. In this case, it's an AI travel assistant that will only answer questions about France. And then we gave it a model. In that case, it was GPT-4 Omni. The optional piece is to provide it a set of tools. So these tools let the agent retrieve knowledge or take action. And I'll actually discuss more about this in the upcoming videos. So these tools provide the agent more capabilities. So in this case, for file search, it can, if you uploaded a set of files, it will answer questions based on those files. Function calling is a set of customized code that will do, and each code is actually a set of, each code is a function that will do a specific task. And then code interpreter provides the agent the ability to write Python code on its own and run that Python code in its own sandbox environment. So we'll discuss all of these things in the upcoming videos. But so again, going back to the process, once you create this agent, the next thing you need to do is you create a thread. So if you're going to create an agent programmatically, you need to create that thread manually. And in the portal earlier, whenever we made a discussion, a thread was immediately created. So as you can see, I showed you in this presentation, in this demo, that when we went to the playground, this thread, sorry, if you check the playground, this is the thread that was immediately created for you. Okay, so this was the demonstration I showed you earlier. Now, if you go back to the agent, so let's say we try this again in the playground. A new thread will be created. Ask again the question, what is the capital of London this time? And it will decline to answer. And then if we head over to the agents again and go to the threads, if we refresh this, you now see 2 threads that were created. So going back to the step and components, we create our agent, we provided instructions, and we provided a model. We optionally provided tools. And then we create a thread manually. And what is this thread? So in general, this thread ensures that the conversation history is maintained and managed automatically. And this thread will contain all of your messages, all the user inputs, and all the system responses. So messages can be sent by both the user and the agent. So these messages can include text, images, and other files, providing a rich interaction experience. And when a run is initiated, the agent processes the messages in the thread and performs tasks based on its configuration. So it may append new messages to the thread as well as part of its response. So in this case, we provided it. So in this example, we are giving it instruction. You're a personal finance advisor chatbot, and we provide a question: how much should I contribute to my account? And then since it has file search, function calling, and code interpreter, the agent will autonomously decide what tools to use based on your user message. In this case, it will decide to use the code interpreter, decide to use function calling, or perform other different tasks. And then the fourth step is to the fifth step is actually check the run status. So once all the running is done, we check the run status, and once complete, we can now display the message to the user, and that agent message is immediately added to the thread as well. In other words, this thread will contain the history of the conversation history, the context, whatever you call it, but all the user messages and all the agent messages. And this agent will, it's like the memory of the agent. The agent will manage this memory on its own. So that's the beauty of it. And then from there, any new user messages or any agent messages, once you create a new message, we just add it to the thread. We run again the agent, and then the responses are automatically sent back to the thread. And in the next few videos, we'll discuss what these tools are. But for now, we're just creating a basic agent with no tool attached to it. Okay, so now that we discussed the different concepts, let's now demonstrate how we can create an agent using code. So what I have here is my my GitHub repository. And the very first thing you need to do is to set up your environment file. Okay, so you need to specify your endpoint and your model deployment name. So in this case, I'll put here my model deployment is GPT-4 Omni, and we need to specify your endpoint. And where do you get this endpoint? Let's go back to our Foundry portal. In the overview, we copy this project endpoint, and we paste it here. So once the environment files have been loaded, so bear with me, let's wait for this to finish loading. You'd probably be wondering, why am I sharing this project endpoint and deployment name to you? Well, it's actually perfectly safe because the next thing that you need to do is you need to open the terminal. Hold on a sec, it's loading quite a while. Let's open it again. Okay, so you need to go to the terminal and you need to log in to Azure using an account. So in this case, you'll click on AZ Login. And I have the Azure command line interface already installed. If not, you need to install it in your environment. And then you need to log in using AZ Login. And from here, you'll get a code and a URL in which I'll copy the code and click on the URL. And I will log in using that code. In which case, I need to log into my account, enter the password, and verify using MFA. Hold on a sec, let me get the code for that. And hit verify. And then once you're logged in, you need to specify the subscription where this project is located. Okay, in which case it's the first subscription. Okay, so once that is done, we can now actually run the code. So we can now close and hide this terminal. So what's the very first thing we need to do? Obviously, the number one thing is to install the packages. In which case, I've already done that, but for the purpose of this demonstration, let's do that again. Okay. Then afterwards, we import the necessary libraries. So we'll import the AA project client, and we will use the default Azure credential. So let's load those. And we create our project client. Now, if you are not logged in properly, this will run, but you will not be able to create the agent. So now let's create our very first agent. So in this case, we'll just name it my agent, and we can specify here you are a helpful agent, and we run it. So once this agent is created, we can head back to the portal. If we go to the agents page, and you can see your agent created here as well. So remember, we created the sample agent earlier. Now we have another agent called my agent. Going back to the code, we'll now create a thread. So again, this thread will contain all the user messages and the agent responses. And we create this simple helper function to run the agent. What does this helper function do? So remember in the PowerPoint presentation I showed earlier, whenever you run the agent, you need to first create a message, in which case we are creating a message based on the user input. This is the query. Okay. So we create a message, we print out the message ID, which is not necessary, and we simply run the agent. And what this is do, it basically adds the message into the thread, and it also adds the agent response to the thread as well automatically. And then from there, we just print out, the last message in the thread, in which case we want to get the last message by the agent in the thread. So that's basically what the run agent helper function does. And now we can, ask, what are the 5 things I can see in New York? Wait, no matching model GPT-4. Wait, I think I made a mistake here. So let's go back to our model. Oh yeah, there's no 4.0. It should be GPT 4.0 only. So that's a mistake on my part, my bad. So we need to go back here and modify our environment file, and need to load this again. And we need to actually, so again, since these are long running agents, what will happen is you can either delete the agent through code, which I'll show you later, or you need to delete it through the portal, because if you don't do so, this will forever be here in the system and you'll be incurring costs eventually. So yeah, the model is incorrectly set up, so we need to delete that. Okay. Now let's head back to our code again. So we import the library. Create our project client. We create our agent. And let's check the portal again. You can see the agent created, and then hopefully this model is now correct. We now create a thread. We specify our helper function. And we can now run the agent. So it provides a response now, and it's getting this information not from the internet, but from its internal data source. And we will demonstrate in the upcoming videos Bing search that provides the agent access to real-time information in the internet. And before I delete this agent, I'll show you first. I'll go to the portal. We can click on this My Threads. We refresh this, and you will see the thread that we actually created earlier through code. So this one here. And actually, if you look at it, there are actually 4 threads here. And what is this other thread? This is the thread that actually failed earlier. So notice there's actually a bit of a bug right now in the portal. Notice that when we deleted the agent, the thread was not deleted. And we actually provided feedback that hopefully there's a way here to actually, do a batch deletion of the threads. Right now, there's no way to do it. You can only delete it one by one. So yeah, that's something that hopefully Microsoft product team will fix eventually. And also, once we deleted the agent, the thread was not deleted. The corresponding thread wasn't deleted for that agent. So you actually need to delete this manually as well. So heading back to the code, you can actually delete the agent programmatically. In this case, I will delete the agent. If you go to the portal, you go to the agents, refresh this. The agent has been deleted, but in the My Threads, if you refresh it, the thread was not deleted. It's still there. In which case, you need to manually delete it through the portal right now. So also I want to eventually show you that once you create a thread, either you can create a thread through, so we demonstrated that you can create a thread through the portal, which you can do it through here, or you can create a thread through code. I'd like to demonstrate to you that eventually once we deploy this, so what's the beauty? The beauty about this portal is that you can create the agent here. Well, some of the some of the tools we'll discuss in the next few videos. What are the tools that are available in the portal? But not all the tools will be available in the portal. But if the tool is available here, you can create an agent here and set up the other tools and attach it to the agent. That's fine. So let's say we'll create an agent. In this case, you create an agent, and an ID is automatically provided. So this ID is something that you can refer to in the future once you deploy it. So in the portal, you can create an agent, but you can create an agent and you can demonstrate it to a lot of people, but there's actually no way for you to deploy it through the portal as of this moment. So the only way to deploy it is to programmatically do it through code. So I'd like to demonstrate that once you have it created here in the portal, as long as you have the agent ID, you can immediately use it through code. So here's an example. So what I will do is I will create another agent, okay? In which case the agent ID is assistant QIFC7E, etc. etc. In which if you go back to the portal, if you refresh, the agent is here. Now this line of code, agent project underscore client agents.get agent, we're now getting the agent based on the ID. So if you remove this, if you created your agent here, you copy this ID and you place it here, the ID, you'll now be able to retrieve that agent. And then once you've retrieved that agent, you can now create a thread for it. And you can immediately use that agent as well. So what are the implications of this? What I'm trying to say is you can create an agent through, let's say, the portal. And let's say you want to deploy this to 50 different users. Every time a user accesses the agent, you don't need to create the agent 50 times. You create the agent once, and each user will have its own thread. Well, naturally, if you look at it, when you access, let's say, Copilot or ChatGPT, every time you make an interaction, you can see that there are different user histories, right? Based on your interaction. If you want to create a new set of message again, you click on the plus button, and then basically you chat with it, and you can see the interactions again. So that's the concept of a thread. So what I'm trying to say here is once you create an agent, whether through code or through the portal, you create it once. And since they're long running, they are never deleted. Every time a user will use it, they will create a new thread, in which case it's going to be a new set of interactions, and that thread is also saved so that if they want to refer back to it in the future, they can do so as well programmatically. And yeah, so, and then don't forget to clean up your resources once you're done. In which case, if you go back here, you can see the agent is gone again. And for this sample agent, since we are no longer, we're already finished using it, we can also delete it to ensure that we're not incurring any unforeseen cost issues in the future. So yeah, we need to make sure that all of these things are deleted. So this basically sums up the demonstration today. So that's basically how you create your agent through the portal and through code. And in the upcoming videos, I will demonstrate to you how we can actually arm these agents with a lot of tools. So there's so many tools that we can provide it, and yeah, these are the tools that will give the agent more power. So hope to see you in the next few videos.